Hey, everybody, welcome back to another season of Horror Film Lovers Mainstream Mondays. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with
John Ward.
John Ward. He's here, and we are going to be talking about Chucky, as you can see. Well, Child's Play. Child's
Chucky.
Play first, and we're going to go through the whole series. So the first week. Oh my goodness, my phone is now freaking out. It's listening to us. Um, didn't like me talking
Maybe
about Chucky. I don't know.
maybe it will give you Chucky product to buy.
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm turned it off because I don't like that. Uh, all right. So, we're going to be talking about Chucky or Child's Play, the first one, and then we're going to be talking about the second one this month, and then later we'll do, I mean, next month or so we'll do two, three and four, and then so on and so forth, all the way up to we're going to do the TV series and the documentary. At least was the one that you mentioned, the something Living with Chucky or something.
Living with Chucky, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the documentary.
And then I think whatever else we can for this season, we're gonna keep going. But yes, are you ready, John, to talk a little bit about like what we have here, and everything
Yes.
with us? So you go first. What do you have to show about for Chucky?
Well, like I always seem to show, this is how I'm watching it. So I have two other Blu-rays, but I'm not going to show those until we actually see the movies. But this is a Blu-ray limited edition, the complete Chucky collection at the time. So it went up to Seed, and then right, yeah, and then you would buy, and then when Curse came out, it came with Curse.
Okay,
So
cool.
that was the whole reason to buy it, is that you got Curse with it.
Okay,
And it's got special features on it, and it's kind of got this cool little slide out thing here. You got
nice.
Chucky there, and then got all the movies here, and then this is the other side of that.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's how I have mine. I originally had a lot of them on DVD, but then when this came out, I said, forget it. I'm just going to buy this. So all my Chucky stuff is on Blu-ray, not 4K yet, but it's on Blu-ray.
Awesome. So do you have anything else? Like you said you had a Funko that's back there that people could
Yeah, I
possibly
got
see
you.
back there.
It's right there. It's like a little Easter egg type thing. Where is it? Right there. It's a little
Mm.
Funko Pop of Chucky. He's out of the box. Joe Lujan got me that for my birthday,
Well, that was
and
nice.
yeah, and Chris did too, and both of them they got me a few Funko Pops. So, but I thought that would be appropriate, so I put them up there if people could catch them in the background, and then I do have this little Chucky kind of like plush doll that
Nice.
my friend Missy gave me. So, because she knows how much I love Chucky. So, I'll be showing off something. I have a few things that I could show on maybe each video. I could show at least one thing. So, but this is what I'll be watching up until Curse. And then I'll be doing Cult and Living on two separate things.
Mm.
So I don't need to show this one
And
again.
the TV series on a different.
And the TV series. I'll show each one of those. I have seasons 1 and 2. Three is very expensive, and I found it for $20, so I just ordered it. So I have
I
it
better
when we
start
when we get
watching
to
it
it.
now. I mean, it's not something like, that I could just do in a couple days, like watch, right? Like can't just binge watch. Oh, I guess you could in a
It's
week.
not that long. I mean, it's not like 24 episodes or something.
Yeah. It's like 10
So
episodes each and it's like 30 episodes. So that's not bad.
yeah, I think they're like maybe a half an hour at most, because they had originally also played on Sci-Fi Channel, so there's
Mm.
commercial breaks. So I think it's worth it. I love all three seasons. They're supposed to do season 4, but for some reason, Sci-Fi canceled it. I don't know why. I guess nobody knows why. Even Don Mancini said that he was surprised, and because I think that they were going to do Chucky in space,
That would have been
and then
cool.
yeah, to just kind of end it. And now it's kind of, well, for lack of a better word, I guess, up in the air. So um,
Absolutely.
but Dog you said that Chucky would definitely be back in some sort of fashion. So
Well, there you go. So yeah, so I have a few things. First off, you obviously the shirt that says free hugs and it's Chucky wanting to
nice,
give you free hugs. Um,
good for
also
Chucky.
got yeah, he's nice, he's sweet. I'll get into that in a little bit. And then there's a hat and he's got Chucky's sort of you
I
can
like that.
see
Ooh,
that.
yeah, I
You
like
can see
that.
a little bit him and you see the Chucky name and of course this little pillow that I sleep on every night that has Chucky. You know, this is sad, but I got this from Temu and it is perfect. So I'm happy for it. Don't know
Nice.
if
I haven't
I
ordered
should have said
anything
that or not, but
off of Timu. I should probably. They always pop up.
and they're always cheap. I mean, this was like I think because it was only this part, it was pretty cheap. It was like $5. Then you had to buy the pillow itself, separately, but
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of makes sense. I don't
well,
think.
then
Yeah.
it ends up being like $15. So it's not really that like for $15 for this, I mean to have forever, like that's a pretty good deal, in my opinion. Um, I would have one of those like one of these like dolls, here, like this little thing that I got. I also well, I didn't get from Temu. I got a Chucky one from I believe it was from uh Five Below because they were doing horror stuff at Five Below and they had a lot of Chucky related things, I think including the shirt might have been from Five Below. And I don't know if you ever have you heard of Five Below?
Oh my God, I go there all the time. What are you talking about?
Do you?
A lot of my Funko Pops come from
Oh,
Five Below.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah. A
Um,
lot of that stuff. Yeah.
so I think like this shirt was from there and a couple other ones, or at least this might have been from, I don't know, whatever place or some Big Lots or something. I don't know. One of those places that had like cheap shirts, that are wonderful for, me. I love these kind of things. These horror stuff. But I found like a like a little pop like thing, like a little tiny doll. And my great nephew found it in my room. And he said, "What's that?" And I said, "That's Chucky." And he said, "Can I play with it?" And I said, "Sure." And I never got it back. So then he
Well,
asked
then he
me,
owes you a figure. You should go get
no,
that figure,
no,
rough him up, and get
no,
it.
no, no, no. He can have it. He's in the same house. It's fine. I'm all right. But he then asked me if he can have this one. I said no. This is a little Audrey too from Little Shop of Horrors, and I said no, 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 no. That's staying with me. I'm not letting him borrow any more of my toys because I will never get them back.
They're figures. They're not toys. They're
Figures. They're
figures.
toys. I don't care. They're toys. And I don't
What are you? Are
but
you eight?
the one I had popped up and it would go wanna play and it was so cute. I loved it. You
Is
know.
that the Funko Pop?
Yeah,
The
well,
one where you?
it's not a Funko. It's just a little teeny pop. Because the Funkos are big, right? They're kind
No. Well, they're all different sizes. I mean,
of
I have one of Pennywise, the Tim Curry one, and of Chucky, and you do the little switch thing, and it pops up and says "Want to play."
yeah, okay, that's it then. Yeah, that's the one I have. Um,
Yeah,
but
I'll
yeah,
be showing that. So
yeah,
at some point.
it's nice. But maybe I'll show it too. Maybe we'll both show it at the same time. I don't know. You show me yours, I'll show you mine if I can pry
Mm.
it back from 2-year-old who loves Chucky now, apparently, you know.
As
Doesn't
all
know
kids should.
doesn't know what Chucky is, as far as the movies go, but like, I mean, you see this doll and you think kids, would want that. And kids in this movie that we're going to be reviewing, Child's Play, to get onto that, they wanted a good guy doll, you know? And
Well, of course, because he's based on My Buddy, that was absolutely huge.
mhm.
So
So yeah, I actually
was
I
that
don't
it? Was that the doll, or am I thinking of the remake? Is it My Buddy? What was the doll that it was? I think
oh
it's
well in the remake it was called Buddy, right? He was called Buddy,
there
I believe.
was a doll that was huge. It was
Yeah, at that
that's what they
time it was
based.
called My Buddy. There was My Buddy and there was Kid's Sister, and they'd have the theme song would be like My buddy, my buddy, my buddy and me. And then afterwards they would have kid sister for the girls, right? And they'd be like kid sister, kid sister, kid sister and me. It was the same tune. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Here it is. Yeah, that thing was. Yeah, kids were obsessed with that.
I had a My Pet Monster, which I can bring out sometime, but
Hey, hey, hey.
I
This is
can
a
whip that
family
out.
show,
I can
sir.
whip that out at some point if you like.
Allow me to whip my little monster out.
My pet monster. I didn't say
My
my
pet
little.
monster.
It's a pet. Uh so yeah, I love that that as far as I was never into my buddy. Um but I get it. And I get why they were like, "Oh, that's what if my buddy came alive and started killing people?" Hmm.
Yeah, I think the remake that it's Buddy with an I because
Yeah.
the real one is Buddy with a Y. So
Yeah, so they probably were like, "Okay, let's not get sued, but let's make it as close as we
probably
possibly
threw
can."
some cash their way. Here's some shut up money.
I would
You
hope
know,
so.
just let us do it. Well, I have two quick stories of Chucky stuff. So it's I work at a storage facility for people who don't know, and units do go up for auction or they're abandoned at times. And so this one guy, he was going to auction. We cut his lock, and we do an outside inventory. It's a visual inventory of the unit. You're not allowed to go inside. And right at the front, I could see a foot. I'm like, God, that foot looks familiar.
What looks familiar?
And I lifted up what was on top of it, and it was Chucky, that full
Nice.
size Chucky. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy has a Chucky. And then I pulled the thing back a little bit more, and it was Tiffany, a full
Nice.
size Tiffany. And I'm like, oh my God. And I pulled the thing back a little bit more. And there was the toolbox and the boxes. And this guy had all this Chucky stuff just in this one spot. And it was right at the front of the unit. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope this guy doesn't pay. So this thing would just, maybe I could give myself a free Chucky. And he did call in to pay. And I asked him, I said, you know what? I will pay like $200 or like $200 to $300 because I think he owed us like 800. If I can take the Chucky stuff, I'll pay like $200 or $300 for it. And he goes, no. He goes, I that's why I keep that storage unit for the
Right.
Chucky stuff. And I'm thinking, and my coworker and I are like, why wouldn't you just keep that at home? Why are you paying for an entire 10 by 10 unit? You're going to pay $800 to just keep your Chucky stuff when the dolls are maybe worth 150. You know, that's in the package and all, because that's what I see
Well,
them at Sia Records.
On eBay they sell them for like 300. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Somewhat, so it's still not much. I
yeah,
mean,
but
if you
that's the
really
price you were willing to pay for.
willing to
Um,
pay for both.
yeah.
So I wanted all
Okay.
this stuff for between 2 to 300, whatever he would accept. And he's just like, no. So he paid for it, and
He
he
took
kept
his
them.
doll away.
So
No, sorry.
yeah. And then one woman, she moved out and just left all this stuff behind. And my coworker and I are like, you son of a bitch. And we went in and we were cleaning it, and there was a dresser, and I opened the dresser, and there are Chucky socks.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is my future wife. She likes Chucky. Like, what else did she take other Chucky stuff with her? So because it's abandoned, we're going to throw it away. I was able to keep the Chucky socks, and I washed them, and now they're on display with some of my other Chucky stuff. So for one video, I'll show the Chucky socks.
Nice.
But it's interesting of what you can find in storage units for your favorite franchise. Which, well, Chucky is my favorite slasher franchise. It's I don't think there's one bad movie or one bad season of television. So I think it's all great. I think that it's absolutely wonderful. So it was cool
So
that I could find some of this stuff.
so that picture I took right there of me and Chucky, that was actually a Texas Frightmare weekend in 2018. And when I hadn't been to Texas Frightmare in God, since 2011, so like 7 years, and I was super excited to go. I went by myself. I stayed with some friends, and we all hung out and had a good time. And one of my friends was friends with um this guy who had a Chucky doll, you know, because Child's Play was a big thing there. Like they were making it like a Child's Play reunion. They had Catherine Hicks, they had Alex Vincent, they had Don Mancini, they had Kevin Yeager, they had he's the guy who made the doll and stuff. They had was it Brad Dourif and his daughter, and they had Christine Elise from the second one. And so it was really cool. Like I met Christine because I'm friends with her on Facebook. Met her, didn't get a picture with her sadly, but I did get a picture with like Brad, Catherine, because I knew like Catherine was not somebody I was going to be able to get. Like anything, I wanted to make sure I got one with her, you know. Did not talk about, well, I talked about how I loved, like she was like a mom to me because I grew up watching Seventh Heaven, you know. So she was like mom to me. I know we can't really talk about that movie. Well, I mean, it's still being talked about, but just not the father, or whatever. But yeah, I
Oh
used
yeah, did he get canceled or something?
he he openly talked about some bad things he did, you know. But
Oh,
yeah,
Steven something, right?
Stephen Collins, yeah, I used to really love.
Yeah,
He was a great
yeah.
actor too. I mean, I
Yeah, he was
see
in
him in
Star
a lot
Trek:
of
The
stuff.
Motion Picture, and
Yeah,
yeah, wow, this is now I kind of remember that, but now this is I think really the first time I ended up hearing about that. Kind of like this is still with you and Paul is where I found out about what is it the what's his name the principal from Ferris Bueller's
yeah,
Day
Jeffrey
Off.
Jones. I was actually thinking
Yeah,
about him too.
who I was a big fan of, and then I think it was either you or Paul go, do you do
You
you know what happened? And
and
it's
you
like,
didn't?
no,
No,
not a, no,
okay.
I had absolutely no idea because I thought he was the best thing in Howard the Duck, which is funny. The guy who plays Howard the Duck plays Chucky and Ed Gale. So
Yeah.
there's that the connection of what we're talking about. But no, I was, and then I watched the documentary about him. Like somebody on YouTube compiled a whole bunch of stuff about him, and I'm just like, holy crap, man. Okay.
It was a little crazy. So yeah, there's a few people out there uh there's a few people that basically are canceled for doing some really messed up things and whatnot. And Steven and Jeffrey, who I did love Jeffrey. I mean, I love him in Ed Wood. I'll still watch Ed Wood. I'm not gonna be like, oh, he was canceled, so I can't watch my favorite fucking movie because,
No,
like,
he's good in it.
yeah, he was great as Criswell. But but anyway, the point being that I knew Catherine Hicks was not somebody who does like a lot of conventions. So she was like my number one on the list. Like Brad Dorff, he's pretty known for going to conventions. Fiona goes to a lot, so I didn't
I
get
wish to
hers.
marry her
I mean, she is gorgeous, and she is.
as
If you think she's gorgeous in the movies and stuff, she's even more beautiful in person. I'm just gonna say that.
yeah, I want to be part of the Dorff late dynasty. As much as I love Emma Roberts and but I wish to marry Fiona. So that's and of course Kathleen Hicks is married to Kevin Yeager.
That's right. And a lot of that was why she didn't. Well, we'll get to the second movie later and why she didn't reprise her role and stuff, from what I've understood. But come to understand. But anyway, the point is that, yeah, so they got married. I think they met on the set of this movie and stuff. And so it was really nice to see Kevin there. It was really nice to finally meet Brad. He was very sweet. Funny thing, I like because I was like, I knew everybody talked to him about Chucky, right? Like, like that's everybody's like, oh my God, I love you and Chucky. So I was like trying to think of something that I've seen him in that, is obscure. So, or whatever. And I said, I really loved you in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And he looked at me and he was like, thank you. I think that was a great, like that was a great movie. And you know what I mean? He was like super cool, just very tall, which you think of Chucky being small, and then you don't think of, you know, much the voice of Chucky towering over you. But he's a great guy. Who else did I think, yeah, and Don Mancini, super cool dude, just super laid back dude. So I love meeting
I would
him.
love to interview him for this whole
I
thing.
didn't
I
even
would.
really, I don't know, like there a lot of these, because of these actors were big like at the convention, so they had lines and you could not talk for very long with them when you were taking pictures because you had to move it along, you know.
That's why you got to get the VIP ticket. You get the VIP line, and you're in there in 5 minutes and out.
Right, but you still don't have much time to talk to them. Like they
Oh no, no.
really,
Well,
you
just out
know.
of courtesy, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
Just
you
to
want to
move the
keep the
line
line
along. But
moving and everything like that. And but I mean, most of them will talk to you for like a while. And Catherine Hicks was like saying I was very sweet and stuff like that. And she was a sweetheart. I loved meeting all of them. Like it was a treasure, And so thank you, Texas Frightmare, because actually, interestingly enough, that was the first time that like I think Kevin Yeager ever met Brad Dourif. They had only worked together on that, but they didn't actually meet, for years and stuff. So like they finally met at that convention, I believe. So I thought that was really cool to hear, you know.
well, Brad Dorff talks about that type of thing in Living with Chucky, that he's just behind a microphone,
Yeah.
and it really wasn't until Tiffany was brought in that he had somebody to bounce off of.
Yeah. So you got to like, yeah, you got to do the voice with Jennifer Tilly,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. All right. Well, let's get right into talking about our review of the first original Child's Play movie. Not called Chucky, or anything. Which, I mean, if they called it Chucky, that would have been cool too. But I like that it was called Child's Play. You know, um, there was something
So
else it was going to be called. Did you know that?
I think it's just going to be called like my buddy or something, or my
Uh, Let me look it up real quick.
something what something like that. It was.
The original working title for the film was Batteries Not Included. Before it
Oh,
became
that is
known
awful.
before it became known. Well, it kind of goes with the movie, but anyway.
Well, kind of ruins the twist, but
And yeah,
okay.
yeah, that does ruin the twist. I'm glad that they didn't go with that. Uh, Before it became known that Steven Spielberg was making a film with the same title, it was changed to Blood Buddy.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Before settling on Child's Play. So,
Which is fine for the first three films, but I would not want Child's Play 6, Child's Play 8. I like them putting the little title on top of Chucky,
well,
Seed,
remember
or
Friday
Bride.
the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street were actually like so Bride of Chucky was the first one where they just did Chucky, right? They put Chucky in the
Yeah.
name and everything. That was 1998, I want to say. And so like that was after Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street both had changed their names to the characters, right? And I think that might have been a big part of it. I don't know because
So the Friday 13th and Nightmare is because they didn't have the rights. They
that's
had the rights
true.
to the character. That was New Line Cinema. Got the rights from Paramount, but they couldn't say Friday the 13th, or so that's why it had to be Freddy's
Jason.
dead
Well, no,
and Jason goes to hell.
but Freddy's Dead was always like it was always part of New Line. Like New Line created Freddy. I think that maybe New Line liked
Oh,
that those things were intellectual properties in themselves.
yes, I am
And
incorrect about Freddy, but I do know that is correct with Jason.
right,
That's why
it's
they
correct.
couldn't call him
And I
Freddy.
think well maybe, but it's also I think that New Line also wanted to have it be about Jason, right? So it was no longer Friday the 13th anyway, even if they couldn't get the name. to Friday the 13th, which is weird because was they had that Friday the 13th TV show that had nothing to do with Friday the 13th, the
Yeah, Friday the 13th, the
series.
series. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was all
which had
shut
nothing.
up in Canada. It
Canada.
was all about cursed objects. It really should have been called like Amityville, the series.
Those are actually coming back out on a website or something, Comet TV, but all the episodes are coming back out for streaming so people can stream them there.
Some were
But
okay. I didn't watch all of them, but some of
I
them were
watched a
okay.
few. I
I
watched
watched.
one that was like the Dollhouse or something. That was pretty cool. My friend would bring him over.
Well, and the thing with going from Child's Play to Chucky is Child's Play 3 didn't do as well.
Right.
So you wouldn't call something Child's Play 4, you would give it a different title. The same way that they did for Mission Impossible was Mission Impossible 3 didn't do as well, so then they did Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, because they didn't want to put a number after it. They put a subtitle.
I wonder,
So that's
I wonder if they thought that like it was gonna do well. Like now, let's bring back Chucky. It'll do well. I mean,
it's also possible that there was a resurgence in slasher movies that all of a sudden they were big again. And
hmm
and so it's like, okay, well, let's bring back Chucky. Like they brought back Jason, they brought back Freddy, let's bring back Chucky.
for
Because
sure.
Bride is still considered by many to be the best one.
I love Bride. I thought
Yeah,
that
Bride is great.
Bride,
I mean, I love them all, and I will argue with people about part three. So
Bride felt more like a Scream, like teen Scream stuff that they were doing, at that time. So it felt more like in that.
it's very
Uh,
self-aware.
yeah, it's very meta.
It went more comedy instead of horror. Well, it's funny that we're talking about kind of like the random films because, and this is going to sound weird, but this is just my opinion. Out of all of them, including the TV shows, I think the first Child's Play is the worst one.
I don't know. I'll have to tell you that at the end. Well, let's do a ranking at the end of our discussions and stuff,
Yeah, I won't. I
and
won't talk about all the rest of them, but I was thinking about it while I was watching it today, and I'm like, when you like, I don't think the original movies for things can. I don't think that they can be looked at as the best ones anymore.
mm,
When you have like 10 movies in a series, so is Friday the 13th the first one really the best one because it's the original? No, people like part six or they like part seven or maybe part four. That number one is not normally the best one. Even Nightmare on Elm Street. If somebody said, let's watch a Nightmare on Elm Street, I would say, let's watch part four, or even part three. I wouldn't say, let's watch part one because there are better ones in the series, you know.
so I would disagree with you on Nightmare on Elm Street. I think Nightmare on Elm Street number one is the best. We haven't done those yet, so that'll be fun someday to discuss those. Because I don't think we've done. No, we haven't. Because
Uh-uh.
we've this is like one of the first ones we've done that have a lot. Oh, I guess Final Destination had a lot of sequels, but not that many, only five. So this has seven sequels, and stuff. And a TV show and other, other stuff too, documentaries and whatnot. So, but yeah, I absolutely love the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Child's Play 1, I feel like is a really good introduction, you know, and is perfect to like if somebody hadn't seen any of the Child's Play movies, number one would be the best one to show, you know, like it started it all, but then I would probably go to Bride of Chucky afterwards, and show that off. I don't know what I'll have to watch all of them again to tell you my true like which one I think is the best, or my favorite, or whatever. 'Cause
Yeah,
my favorite might not be the best. I don't know.
I mean, it's subjective. I mean, it's even like Scream. I don't think Scream now is the best one. We've had so many. I would rather watch Scream 2 or Scream 4 if somebody said you want to watch a Scream movie. And of course, I think 2 for the longest time was the best one. And
hmm
then part 4 I now think is tied with part 2, but of course it does have Emma Roberts in it, so that has it going for it too. But It's
And
just
your
I
Emma
don't know.
Roberts.
Love Emma Roberts.
I know.
Um, she's my love. Well, my second love because there's still Mila Jovovich. So she's been my love since like '94. So that's never changed. But I don't know. I'm just watching this one going. I don't know that like if we weren't doing this review, would I just sit down and watch the first Child's Play?
I would.
No, probably not. Not for me. I like the later ones better. I like once they kind of hit Chucky, then I like those
I
better.
mean, that's a good call, but I don't know. I honestly rewatching this, I forgot a lot of things. I forgot how much Chucky bites people. Like
Yeah, he loves to bite.
I did not. He never does that later in the series. He's usually just with the knife. So it's just so weird to see him just going, the whole time. And, it's like, wait a minute, what? I don't remember him ever doing that. Like it.
Well, so I looked at this with a little bit of a different eye. So Philip Tricky, OGP, sat
Mhm.
down to watch these because they were recommended. He made it through the first one barely and would not continue with the second one, saying, it's a doll. I cannot take this seriously. I think these are stupid and boring. I'm not going to finish watching them. I know people love them. They're not for me. And I was like, okay, well,
Fair
explain a
enough.
little bit more. And he goes, well, I can't believe that you just can't kick Chucky away. He's coming after you. Just kick him or
And I
throw
thought
him.
about that too if you punt him, but like he usually has a knife in his hand and he will
Well,
cut you.
and I said, okay. And like you just said, fair enough. And I said, okay, well, that's the problem that I have with the Puppet Master movies. Why
Right.
why can't you just kick Blade out of the way? Why can't you just kick Leech Woman out of the way? They're this big, and you can't just literally just go pick up Leech Woman and throw her away. It's like you got to really kind of use that.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, and so when I was watching these, I was like, okay, is this possible for a doll to do this? But like, could he? And I'm like, okay, so and the first murder is the aunt
Hmm.
and like the friend aunt, and she gets hit in the head with the hammer, and then she falls backwards out the window and smashes on the car, which is great how it just kind of just just goes inward on the roof. And I'm thinking like that hammer wouldn't do it because it says on it like good guys.
Right. It's
Those
a
things are plastic. I used to own those from like Mattel for different things as a kid. They're plastic. And unless he used a real hammer, which he didn't, or if it was a wood handle, which it wouldn't be, with a plastic top or something, there's no way that that would hurt her unless he has super strength. Does he have super strength?
I'm I never saw any, like he
Because once
never.
again, if he jumped on you, like you would be scared, of course, because you'd be like, oh, fuck, what is this doll doing? You'd be freaked out at first, but there's no leverage to the doll. He would have to be holding something for you not to throw him.
Hmm.
So, like with Catherine Hicks, when he comes to life, he's going, you fucking match and all that stuff. All she, first she would freak out, of course, like, what the hell is going on here? This doll's alive. And then she could literally just throw him to the floor.
Well, I forgot like what exactly. I'm trying to remember because I saw this a couple nights ago, so I didn't watch it like today, or whatever. But I remember like because I always remember that scene. I remember the fact that
Oh,
uh
it's a great scene. I mean, it's
she
it's
sees that the she sees that the was it the batteries are not included
are
or not
missing.
in or
Yeah.
missing, and so she knows he's alive. So she makes the fire and he's not paying attention. He doesn't know that this fire is getting made. And then she's like, "I'll throw you in the
Fire
fire," and he's like,
bad.
"You fucking bitch!" And he's
It's a
trying to like
great
attack
scene.
her, and
And it
then
ends up
she
in compilations all the time.
just drops him, I guess, because
Well, yeah,
like
because he's hitting her, he's
yeah,
kicking her, he's doing all
trying
that
to
type of
attack,
stuff.
and she's
She's
just like,
freaking out at first, and that's exactly you just throw him
yeah, and
because
I think
he's
yeah.
not if he grabbed her shirt, that would be something different. But if he's on top of somebody There should be no reason why they just can't go, eh,
Mm.
and just throw him off. So it's like I get Philip's point. I
Mm-hmm.
get what he's talking about because you really do, even though there's 15 Puppet Master movies and everybody loves them, you still have to make something like Torch, who shoots flamethrowers out of his hands, or Six Shooter who has six guns. You have
Right.
to do something where you would stop the person, unlike Leech Woman, who somehow paralyzes a guy, or the puppets hold him down. Once again, do they have super strength? And then
Well,
she goes up on him and puts the leeches in the mouth. But it's like, no, if any movie that deals with a puppet, you should be able to just throw it right off of you.
so I have two things with that. So with Puppet Master, a lot of it's that there's a bunch of puppets, so they usually surround people and attack, right? Or they attack when you're not watching, or you're sleeping or whatever. They'll you know what I mean? So that's usually what happens with Puppet Master. The funny thing is, when you look at like something like Annabelle, that's a doll. Generally speaking, Annabelle doesn't walk around much. She might disappear and she might reappear somewhere
Yeah,
else,
she like
but you
pops from a
don't,
chair to the bed.
right, but you never see it, right? So like, right, and that I think was the smart way that James Wan did that and stuff and company, because thinking that like, let's have this doll be sort of more spooky in that kind of sense, rather than a doll that walks around and whatnot, because let's face it, dolls that walk around aren't very realistic, like thinking, right? Like, you look, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. And so
Well, and I noticed that because this is the first one and it's still early, they haven't perfected Chucky. So you have Ed Gale, who was Howard the Duck in a lot of scenes, and that a friend of mine worked on. So I'm very proud to know somebody who worked on Howard the Duck. Actually, I know two people who worked on Howard the Duck. But him matching the animatronic Chucky sometimes does not match,
right,
because Ed Gale is moving like this. He's just moving all around. And then Chucky's more.
right,
So why is he running around the apartment like like this? And then we cut to the animatronic doll and he's,
right,
you know, either do it one way or the other. But I get what they were going for. And at the time, I think it worked. But now, once again, because we have so many movies and they've perfected this, that it's, when you watch the TV show, especially, I mean, Chucky literally is alive, but you know that there's a huge hole in the back of Chucky that has this giant cable that's sticking out, that's going out to about 10 people that are operating him, and it's just all CGI'd out. So it's, each person operates a leg or an arm or a finger or an eyebrow or an eye. And they got it down to, I would think, especially for the TV show, because they've done 3 seasons, they got it down to a science. But in the original one, I think they're testing, but it didn't, when you look at it today, kind of like looking back at old movies, Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever it might be, the effects aren't 100%.
right. A
They
lot of
look,
it's bad because of just what they had at that time. They didn't have the capabilities that they have now, But
yeah.
but I honestly like the look and all of that stuff way better in this one than the remake, you know. And
Oh, okay. I can't. I'm gonna wait for the remake to go off. So yeah, that's why when I texted you when we are doing the remake, right?
right.
Because I have plenty to say about that one. Oh yeah.
So do you agree or disagree? Are you
I think the doll looks awful in the
right?
second film, and it
It
just
does
it's
not look well. They couldn't. I didn't think they were allowed to make it look like Chucky, because of the uh because of rights and stuff, because I think Don Mancini had the rights to the Chucky name, the Chucky look, you know, but
Yeah.
they changed a lot of it. And I was like, why even do it? Like, I don't get this. Like,
Money, name recognition. I mean, it made money.
I
It
was
wasn't like a smash hit, but it did make money.
I'll probably talk about this when we do the remake again, but I was in the theater with my brother and we thought we were like, because we went to a 10 o'clock showing, so we did not expect anybody to be there. And at first, nobody was there. And we're like, oh, yeah, we could just watch this movie, right? And all of a sudden, a school bus full of kids came. And I'm not kidding. Kids, like 13, 12, something like that age. And they came with their chaperones and they were all like they were scared when like things jumped out. They're like, right? And they're all laughing and joking, like right? They were more fun than the movie. Honestly,
That's funny.
I enjoyed being there. So I'll probably talk about that again. But I honestly did not like that movie. Uh,
I refused to go see it. So I watched the bootleg
mhm.
a cam copy and went, God, this is dog shit. And then I watched it again when it became streaming and went, okay, maybe I'll give it a second chance because I've hated a remake and then liked it on a second viewing.
Don't tell me
Uh,
Nightmare on Elm Street.
oh God, no, no, no,
Okay,
I
good.
hate that. Well, I mean, I think Halloween Ends is it's not a remake, but it's a good example of a film I hated, and then when I saw it on Blu-ray, I actually liked it.
Yeah.
So
Well, Friday the 13th, I've always liked that remake out of all the remakes. I thought it
it's
was okay.
fine. It's too expensive. That's the problem with that one is that it's why are you putting that amount of money into one remake when that one remake probably would have funded three of the original Friday the 13th? Just keep giving it a low budget. That's
Yeah.
what we love. We don't need, you know,
Oh, it was Michael Bay, it was your boy, you
he
know.
did produce it. It was Platinum Dunes. That is correct. Yeah, Brad Fuller and stuff. So yeah, yeah, all of those had big budgets. Yeah, the Hitcher and all the stuff that they were remaking at the time.
Yeah.
So, but I could swear. Well, and then I bought Child's Play the remake. I'm a completionist. I gotta get it. There are certain ones I just can't get, but this I did, and I watched it again and three times on this thing. Well, now it's gonna be four. There are certain things in the movie I like, but overall the movie is garbage. So yeah, not to get
Yep.
any more into the remake to save some of it, but
But I mean, and to go back to this one, you know, there might be some stuff in there, like you said, like the doll running around and everything. I don't think this is like the worst one, or
I only
whatever.
say the worst is harsh. So
Yeah.
maybe it's the one that I would watch least because I think all of them are great.
You'd
I
watch this over
love
the
this
second
series.
one? Or you'd watch the
No.
second one over this one?
Yes.
So, wow.
I
Okay.
would watch all of them over the first one.
Well, not the remake.
Oh no! I'm not counting the remake. No,
Okay. That doesn't
no,
count as the normal, like, whatever the.
no. I wouldn't even say the TV show because the TV show is a TV show. So basically, up to Colt, I would watch anything below Colt before I would watch the first one again.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's a great movie. It's absolutely great. I love Chucky Beyond Belief, and I have no problem watching the first one. But watching it, I'm just like, God, I would rather watch Seed of Chucky, which is the one that people don't really like. They don't like part three and they don't like Seed. And I love Seed. I think Seed is awesome. Um, but people seem to like part two the best because that's what the TV show is based off of, is that humor, that directing, that type of writing, that how Chucky responds to things is what they based the TV show off of, even though the TV show has everything in it from everything. They just used part two as the template of what is the tone of the show, and it's part two.
My
So
favorite, my favorite bit in the whole movie, and this has been my favorite bit, like, period, in all the Chucky movies, is when he's in the elevator and the old couple's like talking and they're like, don't touch it, the owner will be back for it later, right? And then the lady says, ugly doll. And as she
yeah,
walks away, he goes, fuck you.
Fuck
And
you.
I that right there was perfect. Like that was what Chucky later, like that was Chucky. Now, he wasn't exactly like that, and I mean I get him getting mad that his friend, like his accomplice, like left him, but you're really gonna murder your accomplice, like, you
Yeah,
know, because of doing that? I didn't.
I
I
would.
You'd be that mad. You're like, fuck you,
If I
dude.
robbed a bank and they left without me and I went to jail, I would. When I got out, I'd be killing all of them. Yeah,
Okay. I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah. Fucking dicks. Yeah, sure. And even with him with the place with the house blowing up, I was once again watching, could a doll do this? And yeah, I mean, he Chucky comes in, he blows out like the fire, like the pilot in the oven, which is funny that that place, which looks like a crack house, has, it actually has gas. But like, do they pay their gas bill before they buy crack? But and he blows out the pilot and then turns it all the way up, which you could see a doll do, and then the guy fires the gun and it explodes the house. So I'm
right.
like, okay, that I could see that works. um
And the what is it, the other guy,
the
the
voodoo
voodoo
guy.
guy, which, yeah, well, even then, I guess like the only reason he killed him was because he didn't help him, right? He couldn't help him. So,
Yeah, he wanted to. Yeah, the guy would not tell him how to get out of the doll, which was
uh,
obviously never the plan, but the guy knew how to do it.
yeah, and plus he sort of was a dick to Chucky, which, don't be a dick to a doll that can kill you. You know?
Everybody is a dick to Chucky. No wonder he gets pissed off all the time. Did you see how they handled him? They threw him across the. This before they knew that he was a killer doll.
Right.
you know, they threw him across the room. They chucked him in a car. They did. I mean, they treated this doll horribly. If you notice, the aunt dislocated his arm. Did you notice that? Did you
I
see
did
that?
not see that. No.
She picks up Chucky normally, right? Pulls
Right.
his arm, and she grabs him by the arm. She's walking into Andy's bedroom, and his arm is like this long
Oh my
because she
God.
must have pulled it out
Right.
and it was still in the shirt. And they're like, okay, nobody would notice. So we'll just go with it. We'll just film it. And then when it cuts back to Chucky, it's normal. It's like back in the socket again. So that's a
Wow.
little flub that they didn't want to fix or maybe didn't have time. So it's
Yeah, they didn't, just like you said, they probably didn't think anybody would notice. And generally speaking, probably nobody, I didn't notice. So I didn't
I
uh
always thought that it looked weird. Like, why does that look so weird? And then I realized that today is that because you see it in part two, them building the doll, and you could see where it gets the arm goes right into the shoulder. So she
mhm.
must have popped that piece out and it slid up the shirt because Chucky's heavy. And so yeah, the shirt was like this long instead of being like that long.
That's crazy. Poor Chucky.
Yeah, so no wonder he was so pissed off. I'd be mad too. Well, and the voodoo guy, so the Chucky did the voodoo doll,
Hmm. I thought
which
that was pretty neat.
yeah, and Chucky being all into that because they were like the voodoo murders, like he killed everybody, I guess, with like voodoo rituals and stuff, would make sense for him to use the voodoo doll. A doll could do that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Um, I don't know how much strength he would have with the police officer.
Are you talking about when he was in the car?
Yeah, when he
I
puts the
mean,
bag over his head. Once again, it's leverage of what is he standing on? He's holding the bag. I think that the cop could just basically just pull it off.
yeah.
So
Doesn't
that
he do
one,
that again in the second one with the guy? Uh, he uses the bag over the head with the
wait, maybe I'm getting one and two confused. What?
because I think he used the bag over the head with the guy from the toy company and stuff, because the guy didn't know he was, a killer
So
doll
wait,
back
so what
there.
happens to the police? officer when
Like
he's in his
police
car.
officer, they I know at one point doesn't he like make the put the brakes, you have the brakes go or whatever
Oh,
like
he
that.
uses a knife. I know he
Yeah.
goes up through the seat
Oh
with the
yeah, that
knife,
and the guy's like, ah.
which is funny, but it's a butcher knife, and the seat is probably like that. So there's like there's no way that that knife would get under there. But um, yeah, then he's hitting on like the gas little
Yeah.
God, but there's something else. What does he do first to him then?
I think I'm trying to remember. It's a good question. Let me see if it says it in Wikipedia.
Oh, that's what I'm looking at right now. Karen finds a peddler. Um,
Oops. Plots.
uh, Voodoo doll. Next day.
Yeah, I don't think they said the whole um
Okay,
um,
so Karen goes to Norris. He doesn't believe her story. Karen finds the peddler.
yeah, so they skipped that whole part because still skeptical is later attacked by Chucky. He shoots the doll. Um Norris still skeptical about is later attacked by Chucky. He shoots the doll, whose wound inexplicably bleeds and causes pain. And that's why he goes to the voodoo guy. But it doesn't say anything of like all the crazy stuff there. That's I don't know. I'm trying to remember that scene. Maybe
Okay, so I found the same type of thing that we looked at for Final Destination. So, Child's Play, the very first thing, of course, is Charles Lee Ray shot in the chest. Then um, Maggie hit in the eye with a hammer claw and knocked out the window. Oh, knocked out of a window on top of a car. That's kind of stated weird. Then there's Eddie, who's the guy who was driving the van,
okay.
incinerated by
So
a gas explosion.
he did not okay, I'm looking at the scene. He didn't use a bag over the head. He used some kind of thing around his neck. That's how he got Norse in the back of the seat. It was like a rope, kind of thing. And he pulled it around his neck, you know? So that's how the scene began. He comes up behind Norris while Norris is driving because Norris doesn't know he's in the car, remember?
Right.
And stuff. So he gets in the car as he's driving. All of a sudden, Chucky comes up from behind, grabs a little rope thing, and starts strangling him from behind. But it's not the bag over the head.
The bag is part two. Okay.
Bag is part two.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, you're right. So he does that, and then he's trying to drive as well as see, and he can't, or whatever. So he's causing a lot of crazy, bumping into stuff and whatnot. I don't know. It was a pretty cool scene. Then later he does shoot Chucky, and Chucky feels pain for the first time. And he's like, I don't know how this is happening to me. I should not be, which makes me wonder, like, did he just start feeling pain? Because, like, you're talking about his arm being out of a socket potentially, being bumped into stuff. Was he not feeling pain then?
Well, no, but the arm out of the socket that's behind the
Well, right,
scenes.
right, right.
That
What I'm
that's
saying is, like, but he is being manhandled, like, awfully, like, bumped
oh yeah,
into
he's thrown
stuff
around,
and
yeah, all the time. Yeah.
yeah, and stuff. And wouldn't he feel pain if he was starting to feel pain, or did he start feeling pain when he started, I guess, becoming human, right?
I would say that.
Yeah, so he started becoming human and stuff, and that's why, because that's when he goes to the voodoo guy looks at him and says, um, you're starting to become human. That is why you're starting to bleed. You're starting to, have these whatever, right? because I think at one point they were like, "Haven't you ever seen a doll bleed before or something?" Like, or wait, no, that's in the second one.
That's a part two.
Jesus Christ, I watched them not back to back, but like
I did.
in the days, like days apart from each other, so they sort of blur in. But yeah, it they do sort of the second one almost feels almost like a remake in a way, you know, just with a different, different cast, I guess, It's the same sort of story. All the whole story is Chucky trying to get his soul into the doll or to the kid, or whatever. The first person he told his
Those are at least the
kid.
first three because Andy disappears in Bride. That's like a whole new thing. I think that's the first one where he goes, "I'm Chucky, the killer doll," and he just accepts that he's this killer doll. There is no more transferring, but they do some of the. They still do the transfer type stuff. I think in the
Well, I
TV
think he
show.
wants to be turned. He doesn't, and if I remember Bride correctly, because I saw that movie, I think last year, or the year before, for the first time, and I have not seen Seed yet, so that's what I'm excited about, and I haven't seen three in God knows how long. I used to watch three when it was on USA. Do you remember when USA would show all the Child's Play movies back to
I think
back and
so.
everything,
Yeah.
like around Halloween time and stuff? And so I watched Child's Play 3 with Justin Whalen as Andy, which I fucking loved. I love that dude. He doesn't get enough. I don't think he's even acting anymore. Or at least I don't. If he is, he's not acting in anything I've seen lately.
With the way that the TV show is, I really wanted them to have him in it because Alex Vincent is in it. He's in at least the first two seasons. And I thought it would have been great for the kid from part three who plays Andy to show up. And now we have two Andys, and maybe they fight or something or team up and go after Chucky.
How
Because
would that
that's
work though? Would that be like multiverse kind of thing or something? Or the
may,
Chuckyverse?
maybe. I mean, once you see the show, you'll get it that they could possibly do something like that because
And maybe
there
they
there
probably
are.
reached out to him and he was just like, nope. You know, I don't want to like, because like if he's not acting, which I don't know if he is or not, but because that dude was in like, I believe that dude was in Lois and Clark, if I'm Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman,
Oh, was
and
he? Oh,
stuff.
was he Jimmy
If
Olsen?
I'm correct, I could be completely wrong and but I'm pretty sure I'm right. He was in Child's Play 3. He was a bunch of other things here. Yep, he was Jimmy Olsen in the Lois and Clark show, but he was also in White Wolves 2, Legend of the Wild, which is the sequel to the movie we watched with Dustin for
Oh,
Indie Film
okay.
Cafe. Remember when how like the what is it? White Wolves, the one we had like Mark Paul Gosselaar from Saved by the Bell and had like all these other people like
Amy Dolenz,
Amy Dolenz and
Mickey Dolenz' daughter.
yep. Well, in this one, it's got Elizabeth Berkley,
Oh, wow.
right? Ellie Keats, which I don't know her name, Jeremy London, you know,
One of the
um,
Londons.
yeah,
Okay.
one of the Londons, Justin Whalen, that's the guy from who plays Andy in the third one. Corin Nemec and Ernie Reyes Jr.
All right. So maybe at some point we should watch the second one.
I would love to, and we got to bring Dustin back. And you know what? I don't know if Paul would want to or not because he hated the movie. So let's just bring Dustin back. He loves those things. And
Yeah, I would watch that for its cast and with watching the Child's Play stuff because I think because Roseanne did that with the two daughters, Becky,
yeah,
I think were her name. And I never saw the episode. I just know of it that they were in the same episode together. So why can't you do the same thing with Andy? Because
well,
the show is so weird. Why
they
not?
did. I don't know. I know they brought back Sarah Chalk, but she wasn't Becky. She played a different character in the
Oh, okay.
Roseanne stuff. So but they brought back the original Becky. When they remade Roseanne or whatever, brought it back before it became the Connors because Roseanne got canceled, and everything. Uh, look at everybody getting canceled. We're talking
She's
all
so
these
dumb.
people. Well, she was an idiot. Yeah, she's like, dude, you're on a. It's like we talk about this all the time. If you're on a hit TV show or something, or promoting a movie, don't talk about your political opinions, like that deeply, unless you think, okay, I'm probably going to get canceled, I mean, it's your whatever. Anyway,
People just can't shut up.
uh,
They gotta Rachel Zegler, and they gotta say their whatever is on their mind. They just have to spew out. May Trump supporters not have any peace, and 60% of the country or more voted for Trump. So it's like, oh, okay, so no, I guess we're not going to go see your movie. And it's
yeah.
the worst rated one for Disney history ever. So it's hilarious that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, their first animated movie, made them what they are, while the remake almost destroyed them.
Thank God Walt was not alive to see this. Wasn't
he
it
was he was spitting. He was spitting.
I mean, I remember hearing, like, I know I guess it was a rumor, but wasn't like Walt in a cryogenically frozen or something? Like, wasn't that like a urban legend for a little while that
That he's
that he
cryologically frozen. Yeah.
cryogenically frozen himself or whatever, so that he could come back one day, or whatever.
Well,
Uh,
I think it was had to be Family Guy because it was a flashback, and they because Walt Disney was very anti-Semitic. He did not like Jews, and so the I guess probably Peter or one of them does the flashback thing. It's like Walt coming out of cryogenic freeze, and then Walt opens up the door and goes, "All the Jews gone?" And the guy goes, "No." He goes, "Wake me up when they are," and he closes the door and goes back inside.
I think that's a joke based on the urban legend that he was,
Oh well, they
because
say his head is. It's not his whole body, but it's his head.
I mean,
And there's all this stuff. I mean, I don't think any of that stuff is real, but you know.
anyway, I guess that has nothing to do with Child's Play unless Chucky freezes his head and
I mean,
and comes
unless
back.
Walt goes inside Chucky.
That would be crazy. I don't know. Chucky, the Disney Chucky, franchise.
Yeah,
Um,
there you go. So, well, here I'll finish this off because it's very quick. So then we have the voodoo guy who had leg and arm snapped, stabbed in the chest through voodoo, and then we have the doctor where Andy is, where they're at that
mhm.
like psychiatric place. It says stabbed in the leg by a scalpel, electrocuted by an electric something helmet. I'll just say, that they do the shock therapy helmet on him. And then, of course, it does say Chucky. So is burned alive burned alive in a fireplace, dismembered,
Oh, that's
shot in the
right.
chest.
Because I was trying to think that was part two, right? But no, that was part one because then Catherine Hicks and what's his name and Norris Chris Sarandon. Well, I've got a great story about him. Is that I met him at Fright Night Film Fest, where I was just there. I was in Kentucky. And one day I think it was like Saturday or something. I was like walking around, and you could see me like walking, just looking at every person's when you just kind of just stare at what everybody has, you know. I was just kind of in this trance, like looking down at all these different people, stuff, and then I see like pictures of Prince Humperdinck from, Princess Bride, right? One of my favorite movies of all time. And I was like, why do they have Prince Humperdinck on here? And I look up and there's Chris Sarandon staring at me.
Uh,
And I was like, hi, but I was so like in a trance at that time that not even thinking about it and thinking that he was one of the, I don't know if I even knew how many of the guests were going to be there and how many I was, but I met him twice. I got to meet him there. And then another time at Scares That Care, and he was super. super nice, just one of the nicest guys around and stuff. So if you ever get a chance to meet him, I would highly recommend it. But I didn't get his picture ever, and I'm sad about that. I got to get a picture with him. I have gotten a picture with Alex Vincent. I need to get one with Christine Elise, and if Jennifer Tilly ever goes, I need one with her so I can, you know, complete it.
Speaking of Alex Vincent, I think as a kid he does a great job in this.
So so many people like sort of made fun of him and things and stuff and said he was a terrible actor or something. And I
No,
was like,
he does a great job, especially
I
like when he's
watched
in
this.
that little asylum place. And he's like, Chuck, he's gonna kill me, and he like moves down onto the chair and drops to the floor, and he's crying. That's a great scene.
Well, I think he even gets even better in the second one. We can talk about that, but I think there were times where he like there were times where he just like stared and he kind of rolled his eyes and stuff like that. And I was like, he's even getting better. Like he got better as it went. And it's kind of a bummer that for a long time he didn't act. He quit acting for a while after I think he got like I don't know, I think he got teased a lot, kind of like the kid from uh what is it? From Star Wars.
And
You know,
Anakin, yeah.
yeah, Jake Lloyd sadly got like made fun of so bad that it went made him put it. It didn't do that to Alex. I will say this though. I will say this. I got I don't mind telling about this story, but I had a crush on this girl and she was hooking up with Alex. I'll just say I'm not gonna say names or whatever because it's not appropriate, I guess. But that's what happens sometimes at conventions. People hook up, whatever. And I wanted to have her come to my hotel room and hang out, or whatever. And she told me she'd have to make sure with Alex that that was cool, and Alex pretty much said no. So I got cock blocked by Alex Vincent. Now,
Wow, okay.
I don't mind that story. I don't mind that because, if you're going to get cock blocked by anybody, it better be, you know, big star, to be a big star like Alex Vincent, really cool dude, very nice. When I met him originally, I mean, we were supposed to work on a project together and unfortunately just never the money never got raised for it and everything, but he was down for it, and it would have been a small part too. So maybe I'll cast him in a bigger part somewhere down the line, if I can even afford him now, because he's been doing bigger stuff now with the Chucky series, and so good for him.
Yeah, I think it was one like this. I could be totally wrong on, but I think in the documentary he says something like, "I went up to be like real estate or something like that, a lawyer." It was one of those things where when you leave Hollywood, you go and become, oh yeah, I got into real estate, or I became a lawyer, or a teacher, or something like that. So I think, and then he was called back in to do the show.
Yeah, and now he's continuing to do stuff. So good for him. I hope he
Yeah,
continues and he ends up making, you know, lots and lots of money and lots of movies and stuff. So, and I recommend it to any indie filmmaker if you can afford them. Get Alex Vincent. You know,
sure.
he should be an
Yeah,
Axmas.
ah, that would be fun.
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
I'm sure he'd have a blast. You know. All right. So,
Maybe I can ask the guy who played Spock in the Star Trek remakes. Maybe I could email him. Is his name Quinto Zachary? Maybe I can ask him to be an Axmas.
uh,
Jonathan
I,
knows exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
didn't know you'd go there, but all right. All right. That's funny. If you don't know, well, I'm gonna say if you know, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an inside thing, but from somebody that we know. But what did you think of the ending with how many times Chucky came back?
It kind of got a little bit annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I kind of got like, I was like, okay, can we just die? You know, like it's just sort of like, I don't know. What did you think?
Oh, it didn't bother me at all. I might have when I originally saw it in the theater went, come on, how many times? But now with stuff like Terminator, with like half of the cyborg pulls itself, the T-800 is
Right.
pulling
And
itself
I
on the
actually
floor, and
felt it
all
felt very
of that.
Terminator to me, you know.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be that way. But yeah,
Because he
I love how it just kept coming back and back and
like
back.
you
And then
couldn't kill the motherfucker, like, like no matter how hard you tried, even at that one point where he just puts the head and brings the head in, and you see Alex looking over and going, "Uh-oh." Like, what are you doing, dude? And then Chris Sarandon's like, "Dude, I told you, don't touch him."
don't
Like,
touch anything. Yeah.
yeah, and stuff. And of course, when he does that, that makes the thing attack, like come out from behind and grab the deputy guy.
Yeah,
And
it pops out of the vent. And so it's been tracking itself along the vent, I guess, listening to their voices.
I love that one bit where where the guy's like, well, now you believe us, or whatever. Like, the Norse is like, well, now you believe us, and he's like, yeah, but who's gonna believe me? Like,
Yeah.
like who's, just because we saw it doesn't mean everybody else is gonna believe that
Well,
they're
no,
the killer
nobody
doll.
does until they get attacked, and
Right.
then they believe it. And the thing is, I don't blame them for not listening to Andy, because there are like videos out there. These were like psychology type of stuff, that where they would put a group of kids into a room, and they'd be a box, and
Hmm.
nothing is on the box or anything. It's just a box.
Hmm.
And one of the kids, it was a girl, like an older girl, she went to the kids and goes, "There's a monster in that box." Every kid eventually believed that there was nothing in the box. She convinced every single one of them that there was something in that box. So it's
Hmm.
like, I don't. So if a little kid who was with that girl ran out of the room and told one of the people, "There's a monster in the box," I wouldn't believe it. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't believe if Andy's like, "No, it's Chucky. He did it." Maybe I would only believe it if it was actually me, because of Twilight Zone, Talking Tina, and The Conjuring, and then I'm like, well, okay, there's been enough movies with a talking doll or killer doll, maybe. But if I was just a regular person, I don't think
Yeah,
I
regular
would believe.
Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't believe that at all until it attacked me.
there you go. Um, I agree. I agree. I mean, now, yeah, nowadays I might be like, yes, but also, yeah, there was the Talking Tina in the Twilight Zone or whatever, but like not many times had there been like a walking, talking doll, killing people. So this was like a first of its kind anyway. So
Yeah,
like nobody would believe that. Like there's that one point where they see the shoe prints, the footprints, and they think it's Andy that did it,
yeah,
because
because he has the same
And he's got small
shoes on.
feet, So but they were like, because they were like, oh, we matched his foot and or his shoes, and it didn't
You know
match.
what they say about small feet?
I don't want to. Now talking about kids and shit, I don't want to.
Small shoe size.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Let's keep it at that.
That's what they say. You know
That's
what they
good.
say about big feet?
People have
Big
big
shoe sizes.
big shoes. Okay.
Oh, I know where you were going to go.
Oh. Yeah. Well, not with kids. Not.
Now who is the now who is? So we'll do should we do my budget thing?
Yeah. Sure.
Because we're probably going to be
I.
wrapping this up soon, I would think.
Yeah.
Um, so the first Child's Play came out November 9th, 1988, directed by Tom Holland. And this one, oh shit. Okay, so it had a budget between 9 to 13 million. It made 44.2 million.
Nice. And that's pretty good back then.
Yeah. So this thing did, no wonder they wanted a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that did really well. And do we want to give it a review
Sure. A rating, you mean?
or rating? Yeah, yeah, like a one to
Yeah.
five type of thing.
I think it was 1 to 10, right?
I
Or
think
was
we've
it one
always
to?
done 1 to 5.
Okay,
I
let's
think
do one
you
to
guys
five.
do 1 to 10 on like the stinky scale,
Yes.
but I think
Okay.
we've been doing 1 to 5.
All right. Let's do 1 to 5.
One being the worst, five being the best. No,
You go first.
is that correct? Yeah, yeah. I would give this 4 stars.
4 stars.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it 4.5.
Okay.
Like I really enjoyed it. I had a fun time, so I'd probably give it a 4.5. I don't know. That's my like I know I think we're different on that because you obviously felt like it was a good movie, but it was like the lowest on the that must mean like all the other ones you absolutely give like much higher ratings to or whatever, because you said this is like the one you'd least watch, so that must mean like your least
Well, I
it's
think
the
maybe
least.
my rating and viewing could be different. Like I think that this is an excellent movie, so it deserves 4 stars. It's original. Chucky looks great. It's never boring. It's nice that it's like a tight 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But so I do give it 4 stars. But if I probably had to give it a rating on would I watch it again over the other ones, I would then probably give it like a 3,
Right.
maybe. And then the other ones would probably be like 4, 4.5 type of thing. Rarely does anything get a 5.
That's fair.
You got to be, that's Citizen Kane level right there. That's Jaws level.
Well,
So,
and I agree. I actually just watched two 5-star movies recently, like ones I gave 5 stars to, and those were Path of Glory, the Stanley
oh,
Kubrick
Kubrick.
movie,
Yeah.
and another little movie called On the Waterfront.
Oh, yes.
So those are 5-star movies. Those are Citizen Kane sort of, But yes, I rarely ever give out 5 stars. Like Ed Wood, I would give 5 stars, and that's because I love it to death. But do I think it's Citizen Kane? No, but I think it's great, and but I would give it 5 stars because I love it,
I
you
would
know.
do 4.5 for Ed Wood, as much as I love it. It's in my top 5,
Is
but
that
it's not correct. It's and it's cut down from when I saw it at the screening like a year earlier. So I was disappointed that they cut the scenes out. So the stuff that's in the bonus features was in the movie. So I was bummed that they cut that stuff out.
well, so now on like Blu-ray Hunter, I do like rankings, right, for whatever I watch. And so I've been doing like ones for Criterion Watch. And so if I had like ones that are like, say I had, well, just to say, for example, On the Waterfront and Paths of Glory were both 5 stars. Like, what do I rank? Which one do I find? Which one did I have to go with like, which one do I like better, or which one do I think is a better movie, whatever. And I would go with On the Waterfront on that, as, as much as Paths of Glory is a great movie, it's not as great as On the Waterfront to me, that kind of thing. So like when we do this, there might be a few that are like 4.5 stars, but when I do my ranking or 4 stars or whatever, when we do our ranking, I'll have to choose which one do I think is just relatively better, and or do I just would I just enjoy more? So I think that's fair, you know.
Oh, and I'll tell you my ranking for the remake 0. There we go. 0. 1 out of 5, it gets a 0. 0.
We'll get to that later, I guess. Oh boy, we'll have a lot to say.
Spoiler.
We'll have a lot to say then. They'll forget by the time the remake comes around because that'll be like
That's a ways from now.
like 3 or 4 months from now. 5, I don't know.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm gonna be, what things are gonna be happening in that amount of time. All I know is we'll still be doing this, no matter what. Even if I, even if I got rich and famous, I would still be doing this on my free time because this is fucking fun, you know, or whatever. If I can find time, that'll be the fun part. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so super much. Like we love this and we love having you guys check this out. We will be back in 2 weeks for a new episode, and that'll be talking about Child's Play 2. So we gotta go because we're about to go record that one for you guys. So
That's
yeah,
secrets. Secrets. That's behind the scenes secrets.
I know.
Now they
You're
know.
lucky. You're lucky, people. We
So
don't
my
always
head's
help each
like
other.
this in the first video. So in the second video, I'll have to turn it like this so it looks slightly different. Like, oh, look, they recorded it 2 weeks later because his hat is different.
Sometimes I will. this is another secret. I will sometimes change my shirt, you know, for different pranks just to make it look like it's a different day, you know. But John wears the same shirt in every thing,
I
so
do.
that does
I
not.
do. And I've explained why I do that. So I wear black from time to time, but I wear the gray because it doesn't blend in with anything.
No.
So I am always wearing the gray. Sometimes I'll wear the black,
It blends in
but
with your beard, sir.
can you not see me now?
Nope. You're invisible.
Wow. Now you can see me. But that's why I wear it. There's just nothing, even where I'm when I'm sitting in my chair that has dark colors, you can see me. I don't blend into the chair. All done for a reason.
There you go. Well, thank you guys so much. Join us in 2 weeks for a brand new episode where we'll be talking about Child's Play 2, you know, part dose. Until then, deuces. Later. Bye.